Welcome back to another GIM video. Previously, we accomplished 99 smithing, another 99 down on our way to maxing 416 hero. Currently, we're just barbarian fishing, and we're going to pick up a level here real quick before we move on to other things. Currently, Has this happened to you guys? You do a birdhouse run only to find out you forgot or misclicked, whatever the reason is, you didn't have seeds in your birdhouse from the previous run. And it's just the one, too. That's unfortunate. Anyways, welcome back to another GIM series video. Recently, we've been on the maxing grind on 416 hero here. And on this account, we're 1996 total. Now, for those unfamiliar, why am I clarifying this account? Well, this is a Dolo GIM series in which I already have a maxed Grandmaster Ironman. That was... well, it wasn't quite Grandmaster yet. You can check out the Grandmaster playlist series, mini-series on the channel. But the point is, we're in the middle of the maxing grind on 416 hero at 1996 total. We recently accomplished 99 smithing, and we also did the RD Elite Diary, setting us up to do the agility grind up to 99 at the RD Rooftop course. Now, currently our chill, low-intensity grind is barbarian fishing because we're 94 fishing and we need that to get to 99 as well, obviously. Plus, it's a little macro efficient to be doing this as we do gain a good bit of agility EXP along the way. This is the aforementioned Max Grandmaster account, and currently we're chopping redwoods and we're up to 890k arrow shafts. We've been at this grind for quite some time now because we're trying to get enough arrow shafts to get 99 fletching for 416 hero. So on this account, we'll be doing grinds that will help the maxing grind as well as just doing its independent individual PVM based grinds. But this was a pretty big task, more so than I thought, to be honest, and it's been taking longer than I thought, but we're close to the finish line in terms of the arrow shafts. There are other things to take care of though. So now that we've established that, what is our current goal? Well, I'm yapping away right now, so I'm just barbarian fishing, easy enough, but we are going to start doing agility. While I do wish I had the arrow shafts prepared already and the feathers and the arrows and all that, I am going to start the agility grind anyways at the RD Rooftop course. This was actually a long time coming. We did a lot of things to set us up for this, and we're finally going to get started on that. I would like to be fletching already to be efficient, but no worries there. Agility is going to be a very, very long grind. So we're going to have the fletching resources available sooner than later, well before we're even 99 agility. Plus, I did mention this in the previous video, if it ever comes down to it, for some reason we're 99 agility already, we can also multi-skill amidst our construction training by means of mahogany homes. I'm sure if you've been following along or even just tuning into this video right now, you might be wondering, if you already have a maxed Grandmaster Ironman account, why are you going for a second maxed Ironman account of the exact same account type? Maybe you could start a hardcore or an ultimate. While those things have been on my mind and I have been cooking in the lab in the background, perhaps one day we'll start a series on one of those account types. Currently, I don't have any immediate plans for those. And with having a maxed Grandmaster account already, there's not much on the menu in terms of grinds to do, and as such, we're kind of in a Raids 4 waiting room. Now, because we're so far away from maxing, it is a nice goal to have for a long-term goal, and I highly doubt that we're going to reach max level before the release of Raids 4. At the point of this recording right now, there's no current set date for Raids 4. All I know is that it's coming at the end of the year. So like I said, it's a nice long-term goal to have to keep myself busy until Raids 4 comes out, and if we don't reach max level before Raids 4, there's no big deal. There's really no downside to it. Beyond that, I've coined the series, the long-running series by now, the Dolo GIM series. Well, to be honest, it's kind of one-sided, having one maxed account and one other account with not too many other stats besides combat stats on it. So the relationship between the two accounts is kind of one-sided in the sense that, wait for it here, is always feeding supplies to 416 hero. Well, if I start training up the skills on 416 hero, it can be a more mutually beneficial type of situation between the two accounts. For example, one of the things that I'm always having an upkeep as an endgame Ironman is blood runes because of scythe charges, barrage, and just like, runes in general, right? Well, imagine if I could be PVMing going for green logs on the Max Grandmaster account here while I upkeep those runes on the other account. That's just one such example and why it would be nice to have two maxed accounts or two highly skilled accounts anyways. Currently I'm feeling a bit lazy, so I'm continuing to chop the redwoods as we do for these arrow shafts, and over on 416 Hero, I'm still at barbarian fishing. Haven't quite started on the agility laps again. I've touched on this in previous videos, but the key to maxing really is to just always be doing something. Even if it's slow, something is better than nothing. While I'm not doing anything too intensive, let me go over the game plan for what's to come, because we're almost done with the arrow shafts, and once we purchase the feathers, actually we might not even need to buy the feathers. I think I have a bunch from all the Birdhouse runs I've done over the years. What we do need to purchase though is broad arrow tips. Yeah, that's going to be pretty pricey, but I think the combination of GP on both accounts should net me enough to afford that, although we'll be pretty poor afterwards. And once all the fletching resources are gathered, I'm going to be switching this account over to gathering some sort of prayer EXP. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do yet, whether I'm just going to go AFK some blue dragons underneath the Myth Guild, or if I want to tackle some bosses. 416 Hero is just 63 prayer, and I capped this specifically on purpose, along with 50 defense and 82 attack. 50 defense is just enough for the Moon's Gear, and 63 prayer is just enough for the prayers at Royal Titans. 82 attack is a little arbitrary, but that's just the max actual level requirement for any of the weapons. I think 82 is the Osmumtum's Fang, for example. I technically have access to all weaponry, except I am self-limited because obviously I don't want to gain attack or defense EXP, so I can't use something like a Dragon Hunter Lance or even a Zami Hasta. Now obviously I mentioned that I'm maxing, so I will be foregoing these stat restrictions in the future. I do want to hold on to 50 defense as long as I can, just in case there are some milestones or achievements I want to go after. But I think I'm more than okay to let go of attack, and especially prayer, sooner than later. I've been looking ahead to do Slayer relatively soon, probably after agility maybe, and I think I want to get my prayer levels up higher sooner than later, because I was thinking of doing Barrage Slayer, and it'd be very, very annoying to do Barrage Slayer where you're burning up prayer potions and prayer, and I'm at just 63 prayer. That would be very, very costly. Across the two accounts, I do have a significant amount of prayer EXP banked right now, but I'm definitely going to need a lot more. And my game plan is to use the Varlamore prayer method. I don't really want to deal with the wilderness right now, so I am going to have to gather a bit more bones for prayer EXP, but I think that's a trade-off I'm willing to take. Anyways, we'll come back to this conversation in the future. Right now, I still need to gather the remaining arrow shafts. It's time for another Birdhouse run though, so we're just momentarily taking a step away from the barbarian fishing, and this time around I made sure that all my birdhouses had seeds in them. It's always such a tragedy when you forget to put seeds in them, especially just one. Now, like, you're not in an even number, it's just weird. I don't know, it's an OCD thing, I suppose. But this time around, we made sure to have all four. Let's just head on over to this last birdhouse here, which I think I've heard rumblings that it's actually inefficient to run to this one and do it, but I think that's not something that really concerns us. Why would you not go for all four birdhouses, right? I don't know, but I think technically speaking, if you do the math, it's not worth it. I don't know, who knows. We're currently at 945,000 arrow shafts now, and we're pretty close to the amount we need. And which I actually had to do the math and figure out exactly how many we needed. We have another 55,100 courtesy of 416 Hero. I know I'm actually going to be trading it back over to 416 Hero, but in the name of keeping track of how many I have, which is now exactly 1,475,000 that is, we're going to need another 85,000 or so, and then we'll be done with this part of the grind. Alright, I have finally convinced myself to leave the grotto, Otto's grotto that is, where we barbarian fish, and I'm going to start doing RD rooftop laps now. Now I have done the one lap for the actual diary, and right now I'm not fletching just yet as I'm still building up the arrow shafts, but what I am doing is making some GP. I guess magic EXP is being gained as well, as we're 98 magic and we've been this level for the longest time for some reason. We just never did any more combat to get to 99, I suppose. But we're mostly alking for the GP, and that's because this fletching grind is going to be very expensive. I mentioned that there are other parts beyond just the arrow shafts that we need. The arrow shafts are completely free, right? I just have to spend some time on the maxed account chopping redwood logs and fletching them, but I am going to have to purchase more feathers as I have a total of about 300,000 combined across the two accounts. I'm going to need another 700 to 800k. Never mind the fact that we're going to be using more feathers when it comes to barbarian fishing, in which we're nowhere near done. We're just 94 fishing. And actually, it's not so much about buying the feathers. That's probably chump change in comparison to the amount of GP that we're going to need to spend for the broad arrowheads. Arrowhead tips, whatever they're officially called in the game, but you know what I mean. The ones that you purchase from the Slayer Master. This is going to be roughly 6 GP per EXP, according to the wiki anyways. So it's going to cost us probably somewhere around the ballpark of 60 million GP. Now, across the two accounts, I definitely don't have 60 mil GP right now, at least not in liquidated GP. I do have, however, a ton of fire battle staves, as well as the other elemental ones from our previous crafting grind up to 90 crafting, which is what we needed for the redwood birdhouses. There's also other alchables probably stashed into the bank between the two accounts, in which I will figure out. But while I'm running this course for now, I'm going to be high alching. I think recently I've used the term macro efficiency a few times, and that mostly pertains to us barbarian fishing for not only fishing EXP, but the agility EXP from that as well. And to show just how much of an impact that has made, we stopped training agility once we reached 90 so that we could go do the RD Elite Diary. We haven't actually trained any agility directly beyond these 23 laps that we just did in the last couple of minutes. Instead, we've been gaining agility EXP at barbarian fishing. And we're actually halfway through 90 agility, well on our way to 91 already, solely thanks to barbarian fishing. Almost 50 laps into the course now, so we're getting pretty comfortable here, and due to the nature of this grind, I'm just browsing the internet and whatnot, and a thought just occurred to me, and I went ahead and checked the wiki page for the RD rooftop course, and just agility in general. And it just occurred to me, I may have been inadvertently spreading misinformation about the RD Elite Diary and how it pertains to this course. While it does increase the marks of grace you get per hour pretty significantly, a jump between 17 to 18 without the diary to 20 to 22 with the diary, I think I've also mentioned that it increases EXP, but I don't believe that's actually to be the case. Now, the reason why I have been saying this is because back when we were still on the Relica course, I realized that the Relica Diary, or the Fremennik Diary, I should say, not only increases marks of grace per hour, but it also does increase EXP. And this is actually the case for the Sears course, the Polonivnich course, probably just butchered that. But this is not the case for the RD course and the RD Elite Diary, respectively. In fact, it's not even the Elite Diary. It gets even more confusing than this. For Relica, you only need the completion of the Hard Diary to get the bonus marks and bonus EXP. However, for the RD Diary or the RD course, you need the Elite Diary for the bonus marks of grace, but there is no bonus whatsoever in terms of experience per hour. So that's a bit unfortunate, but hey, you know what? Nevertheless, it's good to get the diary done. And the marks of grace, I mean, why not get a few extras on the grind, right? I say a few, but it's really going to add up as Well, we just hit lap number 50, and there's going to be tens of more laps, hundreds of more laps, and thousands of more laps. We're probably going to be upwards of 8,000 laps or so, even accounting for the fact that we're going to continue to gain some passive EXP by way of barbarian fishing. A bit of a ramble here, I know, but, you know, it's a bit of a shame that I'm just now realizing I've been spouting out the wrong information, but better late than never to correct myself, I suppose. Anyways, while we're on the topic of EXP per hour, we should expect roughly 66 to 70,000 EXP per hour here, which is pretty good for the agility skill. Obviously, in some other skills, like where we just came from, smithing, that is a very slow rate, but this is as good as it gets, I think. Checking in on wait for it again, we are now up to 1,019,000 arrow shafts. So we're closing in on the 1,085,000 that we need. Now, earlier I mentioned that, you know, we're considering our options as to how we want to go about collecting prayer EXP. Initially, I thought I could potentially do some bosses or something, but if I'm going to be semi-efficient doing agility in combination with high alking and fletching when the time comes, well, it's going to be next to impossible to actually do any boss, especially ones that actually drop prayer EXP like Vorkath with the superior bones and even the noted bones. So I don't think I have too many options, to be honest. How I did the 99 prayer grind prior was I went to the Mist Guild and farmed up blue dragons in the basement in the cavern underneath. And I'm thinking at this point in time, we might just do that again. Of course, we can always stagger the grinds and do things at a different timing and separate of each other, but this is as good as a time as any to get the prayer EXP. We're taking full advantage of the fact that we're playing both accounts at the same time, and this is going to be a massive time save if I could collect my prayer EXP before actually even training the skill, while I'm actively training 1 to 2 of the other skills. Now, the details of this could be a bit hazy as this was a while ago, but I'm fairly certain the last time I did the agility grind from 90 to 99 here at this exact same rooftop course, I witnessed a friend play RuneScape for the first time on an Ironman no less, off a tutorial island all the way up to like 1700 total level in the time frame it took me to get from 90 to 99 agility here at this course. So yeah, we're gonna be here for the long haul, to say the least. It's time for a birdhouse run, but we can continue to high alk, so doing this is always very satisfying in my opinion. In the early mid game when you're progressing your account, like, you just find yourself always alking or fletching or doing something. And while it is a lot of clicking, it's also really satisfying to gain all that EXP, and in this case, GP as well, constantly. Now, speaking of the GP, when I pulled out the battle staves, I was thinking I'd have to not only go through these fire ones, but the air ones and all the other ones that we went through for our crafting grind. Well, that might not end up being the case because these bad boys are worth 9.3k a pop. And you can see here when I hover over it, it actually says I have 23.5 mil worth of those, and I already have 3.6 mil in my inventory here. So safe to say we're going to be getting a lot of GP. I think I have about 50 million, give or take, across the two accounts. So by the time we're done high alking, we're going to be pretty rich, all things considered. All that for the GP to disappear very quickly though, but it is what it is in the name of maxing. We've been on autopilot and I actually missed the 100 lap milestone. Not to worry though, there's going to be plenty more milestones to catch in the future. Fresh off another birdhouse run, and we're going to take a bit of a break from the agility already, so we're going to head on over to barbarian fishing. But before we do that, I kind of want to keep track of our marks of grace. The 828 we have in our bank is from all the other previous courses, but the 35 we have in our inventory right now is exclusively from the RD rooftop course. So curious to see how many of these marks of grace we'll end up with. Another day and we're back to running laps on the RD rooftop. But more importantly, over on Wait For It, as we've been chopping all these redwoods, we actually have more than enough arrow shafts, finally. I don't know how long I've been doing this. I've been doing this across multiple grinds, it feels like. And we finally have the 1,085,000 arrow shafts that we need. And some change, actually. Let's just finish out this inventory, and then let's go figure out how we want to go about getting the other supplies that we need. Alright, I've gone ahead and done my Ironman chores, aka farm run, birdhouse run, and the works, and we made our way over to Port Sarum here, specifically in the fishing shop, and we're going to speak to Geralt, what's his name? Geralt. I thought it was like Geralt or something, like from The Witcher. But anyways, we're here to purchase feather packs. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not a big fan of shopscaping, and I probably have touched on this in the past, but when there's an opportunity to avoid doing this, I very much would like to take the alternate path. For example, I would rather craft my blood runes than to shopscape for blood runes, especially with the existence of the Guardians of the Rift outfit. But when it comes to feathers, I don't really have any options. While I do a lot of birdhouse runs, and we have 234k on this account, and currently on 416 Hero, we have 113k. This is all from birdhouse runs, by the way. And I don't know. I don't know what bosses might drop feathers, although I highly doubt I picked up feathers while PVMing. But the point is, we need at least another 700k or so feathers for this fletching grind. And to be honest, we need even more than that because we're going to be using the feathers at barbarian fishing. So without further ado, I don't know how expensive this is going to be, but this isn't even going to be the most expensive part. The feathers are relatively cheap, all things considered. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to buy out the stock and then hop worlds. Probably not the most cost efficient, but the less worlds I have to hop, the better. So yeah, I'm going to be doing this while I'm running laps on the other account, and then I suppose I'll check back in with you guys when I'm finally done purchasing all these feathers. Okay, nowhere near done purchasing. In fact, I barely just got started, but there are two choices I can make. I can spam click and clear out the feather packs quicker, and I'd have to hop worlds. Or I can do it the lazy, slow way and have it automatically open packs for me, and I won't need to world hop because by the time I'm done opening it, the shop actually restocks itself in time. Well, considering I'm doing this on, I mean, I was going to call this an alt account, but it's my maxed account. But the point is, you know, I'm not doing it on the account that I'm actively trying to skill on, so you know what, I'm just going to take my time here. After over 300 laps here at the RD rooftop, of course, we were already 50% of the way through 90 because of barbarian fishing. We're finally going to get our first level here at the RD rooftop. I think anyways. Nope, we are 101 EXP shy. I imagine that's just one or two more of these obstacles, but we're going to be hitting 91 agility. The first level out of 10 levels that we're going to need to get, or actually 9 levels, I suppose, 99. But there it is, 91 agility. You can now use the Beleti Caves Cliff shortcut. Quite frankly, I'm not even sure what that is. I'm not even sure what region that is. But all those laps later, we're still opening these feather packs because, as I touched on before, we're just kind of letting it do its thing instead of manually clicking each pack. We're up to 723k total feathers now, and we're going to need pretty much another 300k more. Now, our coin stack, I really do wish I took a better look at this before we started, but we were over 24 mil, probably pretty close to 25, and right now we're down to 23.6. So honestly, not too bad. I thought the damage would be worse, but the real damage comes in when we get the broad arrowheads. Peeling off the rooftop course because it's that time for another birdhouse run. And speaking of birdhouses, Hunter EXP, I feel like ever since we hit level 89 to do these redwoods here, we've actually been gaining EXP very quickly. I've been doing the same thing, trying to do them every 50 minutes as long as I'm online, and currently we're already, where's Hunter? We're already 42% of the way to 90, 290k EXP to go. Now, if I'm not mistaken, each time we do a birdhouse run, it's actually 4.8k EXP. It's not too much more than previously with the magics. probably another 400 EXP per run or so, but it feels like it makes a big difference. I've been high alking these fire battle staves the entire time we've been doing the rooftop courses, and we had like 2.5k or so, closer to 3k, and now we're just below 500 of these left. Alking all of the fire battle staves I had was worth about 25 mil or so. Of course, we have just the 10 mil in the bank. Let's hit the bank right now to see what our total GP is. Let's not forget that we have 23 mil and some change over on the maxed account. And honestly, the majority of this is going to go into the broad arrowheads. I cannot stress enough how expensive that's going to be. But we have 38 mil in the bank, so yeah, right now, this is probably the most GP we've ever had. I should probably put away all these birds' nests and whatnot. But yeah, right now, this is probably the most GP we've ever had on the account, or on the accounts together. I never really have too much GPs in one go, but this is gonna disappear very quickly once I'm done buying the feathers and then the broad arrowheads. Speaking of the feathers though, we are very close to being done. We're approaching 1 million feathers. Honestly, if we include the 113k we already have sitting on 416 Hero, we have more than enough. But again, I am buying extras right now because I'm accounting for the fact that I'm going to be barbarian fishing when I'm not too actively playing and I just want something chill to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get the 1,085,000 feathers I need at the fishing shop right now. And I'll just hold on to these extra 100k or so feathers for when I want to do barbarian fishing. For the traditional solo Ironman out there, this broad arrow fletching method is still very efficient for you, although I wouldn't recommend AFK purchasing the feathers like I have been doing right now. If you were just playing the one account, the regular Ironman, I would probably opt to suck it up and hop worlds or even just buy out the shop completely just to get this done faster, because as you've noticed, I've done hundreds of laps at the RD course now and I'm still not done purchasing all the feathers. But that's because I'm doing it the lazy way. Knowing the fact that I'm playing on 2 accounts at once, I'm still actively trading on this account, so it's not too much of a time loss. In fact, it's technically 0 time. Although the quicker I get done with purchasing all the feathers and broad arrowheads, the quicker I move on to collecting my prayer EXP. But I just wanted to let anybody know that might have been interested in getting fletching EXP on the way to 99 for themselves as well. Of course, there are other methods like just bank standing and fletching longbows and whatnot, but this is the most time efficient way. If you can figure out a good way for yourself to get GP, be it the Corrupted Gauntlet or something else, it's well worth the time to just buy the arrow shafts. Yeah, speaking of which, I took the time to woodcut and fletch my arrow shafts, but I do believe headless arrows are purchasable at the Ranging Guild, if I'm not mistaken. So that's even more of a time save there. That's just something you want to weigh yourself. You know, how much GP you have, how quickly you can make GP. More times than not, you're actually able to make enough GP, and that's the more efficient way. But for me, with my 2 accounts, I just want to prioritize EXP more than anything, and my road to getting all those arrow shafts, I gained a nice bit of woodcutting EXP, as well as a little bit of fletching EXP on my maxed account. When I was just playing Wait For It before the existence of 416 Hero, this was the exact method I did to train my fletching, and agility for that matter. I also did plenty of fletching during the Mahogany Homes grind, and we're going to be looking to do that again. But yeah, like I said, this is very much a viable method, even if you're a solo Ironman or a hardcore or whatever. But I'm just doing this with a twist because of my 2 account GIM situation. Over on Wait For It, we finally finished purchasing all our feathers. That actually took me the entire day pretty much, 4 hours logged in, and we did world hop a little bit in the beginning, so over 4 hours it took me to purchase about 800k give or take feathers. Yeah, that's right, we did already have like 200k or so sitting in the bank, so we didn't outright buy 1,085,000 feathers. Nevertheless, 800k, over 800k feathers took me most of my day to purchase, and that's just because I was doing it the slow way. If you're a solo Ironman, I highly encourage just world hopping or, you know, at least more actively opening the packs yourself. But obviously in my case, since I was doing this in the background, I didn't really care how long it took, but we're finally done. and that did cost me about 3 to 4 million GP. So we're standing here at Curdell right now because, well, we have our feathers, we have our arrow shafts. Now it's time to dump all our money in purchasing not the broad bolt packs, but the arrowhead packs here. These things at full stock cost 5.5k each, and how much is one pack again? 100? I actually didn't. Let me do that again. I actually didn't even see it. Let's see. I already have 14,000 or 13,000, just like in my bank from before. Each pack is 100. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be pretty costly, and I might be more careful with this. As you can see, the stock, I should say, doesn't restock quite as fast like the feathers do, so it can get pretty pricey. So initially, oh, actually, did they change this? Is it the same value now? Let's find out. If we buy another pack or bunch of packs, how much does it cost now? Is it still 5.5k per pack? No, it does increase. Okay. It's just the max stock is 800. All right. Well, we'll keep that in mind. It does fluctuate. You know, the value, the cost of each does change. So we're probably not going to purchase too many at a time. But we're going to need 1,085,000 of these as well. And currently the 22 million and some change we have in GP sitting in our inventory right now is not going to be enough. This is going to cost about 60 million. That's why we've been high alching the fire staves we crafted previously all this time. The GP across 2 accounts should be enough to cover the cost now, but by the time I'm done, I'm going to have little to no GP left over, I don't think. You know what, now that I started buying, it does look like if I just fill my inventory out with packs, it does restock fast enough to where by the time I'm done automatically opening these, the stock does fully restock, so the pricing shouldn't be too bad. I'm just going to employ the same strategy and method I did at the fishing shop for feathers here as well. This is going to take even longer, I imagine, but that's okay. We're not doing anything other than running around the Arty rooftop over and over again anyways.